Totalitarianism is a form of government and a political system that prohibits all opposition parties, outlaws individual and group opposition to the state and its self-claims, and exercises an extremely high degree of control over public and private life. It's not just strict or authoritarian, it's an attempt to reshape human nature itself to fit the state's ideology. Key characteristics. To help distinguish totalitarianism from other forms of rule, political scientists generally look for these pillars. Single-party state. Only one political party is allowed to exist, usually led by a charismatic dictator. Official ideology. A mandatory set of beliefs that everyone must follow. This ideology usually promises a perfect society, a utopia, if everyone obeys. Mass surveillance. The use of secret police, informants, and modern technology to monitor every citizen. Privacy is effectively non-existent. State control of media. The government owns or strictly censors all news, art, and education to ensure only approved information is shared. Propaganda. Economic control. The state directs most, if not all, economic activity to serve the goals of the regime. Suppression of dissent. Disagreement isn't just debated, it's criminalized. This often involves forced labor camps, purges, or re-education. Totalitarianism versus authoritarianism. People often use these terms interchangeably, but there is a subtle, vital difference. Feature. Authoritarianism. Totalitarianism. Scope of power. Focuses on political power. Ignores private life if you don't protest. Seeks total control over thoughts, family life, and beliefs. Ideology. Often lacks a guiding, grand vision. Focuses on maintaining status quo. Driven by a radical, transformative ideology, e.g., fascism or Stalinism. Participation. Prefers a passive, quiet population. Demands active, enthusiastic participation and public displays of loyalty. Historical examples. While many regimes have leaned in this direction, the most frequently cited classic examples from the 20th century include 1. Nazi Germany, 1933 to 1945, under Adolf Hitler, centered on racial purity and expansionism. 2. Soviet Union, Stalin era, under Joseph Stalin, centered on rapid industrialization and absolute state ownership. 3. North Korea, often cited as the most complete contemporary example, where the state controls virtually every aspect of life. Note: modern discussions of totalitarianism often focus on digital totalitarianism, where social credit systems and AI-driven surveillance replace the need for traditional secret police to enforce conformity. Would you like me to look into how specific philosophers, like Hannah Arendt or George Orwell, defined this concept in their work? To understand totalitarianism, you have to look at it through two distinct lenses: the philosophy of Hannah Arendt and the fiction of George Orwell. While they both studied the same horrors, they focused on different ways the state breaks the human spirit. 1. Hannah Arendt. The Ice-Cold Logic. In her 1951 masterpiece, The Origins of Totalitarianism, Arendt argued that totalitarianism wasn't just a worse version of a dictatorship. It was a completely new and terrifying invention. The classless masses. Arendt believed totalitarianism succeeds when people become atomized, socially isolated, and lonely. When traditional community ties break down, people are drawn to radical ideologies to find a sense of belonging. The power of fiction. She noted that the masses aren't necessarily fooled by lies. Rather, they prefer a consistent fake world over the chaotic, messy real world. Terror as an essence. For Arendt, terror isn't just a tool to stay in power. It is the very engine of the state. Even after all enemies are gone, the state keeps creating new ones to keep the system moving. The banality of evil. She later famously observed that most people participating in these systems aren't monsters, but bureaucratic desk murderers who simply stop thinking for themselves. 2. George Orwell, The War on Reality. Orwell, particularly in 1984, focused on the psychological and linguistic tools used to maintain total control. Newspeak, Orwell's most famous concept, is the idea that if you control language, you control thought. By removing words like freedom or rebellion from the dictionary, the state makes the very idea of dissent impossible to formulate. Doublethink. The ability to hold two contradictory beliefs in one's mind simultaneously and accept both, e.g., war is peace. This effectively destroys the individual's capacity for objective truth. Mutability of the past. Who controls the past controls the future. Who controls the present controls the past. Orwell warned that by constantly rewriting history, the state ensures it is never wrong. Surveillance. Big Brother represents the feeling of being constantly watched, which leads to self-censorship, where the individual becomes their own policeman. Comparison, where they diverge. While they agree on the what, they differ slightly on the how. Feature. Hannah Arendt's view. George Orwell's view. Primary tool. Isolation. People are made lonely, so they can be dominated. Language/technology. People are manipulated through propaganda and screens. Truth. People stop caring what is true because they want a logical fiction. People are forced to believe things that are obviously false. 2 + 2 = 5. Goal of power. Global domination and the reshaping of human nature. Power for power's sake. A boot stamping on a human face forever. Key takeaway. Arendt warns us that totalitarianism starts with social isolation. Orwell warns us that it starts with the corruption of truth. Would you like me to explain how these ideas are being applied to modern, digital totalitarianism and social credit systems today?